Hello and welcome to Real Health Conversations. I'm your host, Leah Williamson, and I'm with my co-host, Holly. Welcome, Holly.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I am doing great. I feel like we haven't talked for a long time because we were just catching up on air and we were like schoolgirls going,
Yeah,
or sorry, off air. So we're
yeah,
like, oh, I guess we better record the show.
that's right. Imagine if we recorded our ramblings, people would be like, whoa. They like
Who
to
knows?
talk.
Maybe people would find that more interesting.
That's right. Well, you have some exciting news. How about you share with everyone what's happening? It's very exciting.
Yeah, I am going to be back in an office after, oh man, when I stopped working in 2020, I think when a lot of people stopped working in the office, and I've had a virtual practice ever since. But now that I've relocated to Oklahoma, I've met a chiropractor, and we have a lot of the same philosophies on nutrition and lifestyle and wellness. And so I am going to be opening up this or using a space in his office starting this week. And so that's really exciting. I got to shop for office furniture, and it's nice to I'm looking forward to being out with like all the people again instead of just sitting at my desk inside. So I'm very excited about that. And to kick it off, I am going to be doing a group program. We are doing a sugar fast. It's actually going to be based off of a book. It's actually, what's it called? 40 Day Sugar Fast, where physical detox meets spiritual transformation, because it will have a biblical aspect to it for people who are interested in that. Um, but that'll be my group program, and anyone interested in that, I'll post the details for it in the show notes, as well as anyone local listening in Tulsa. I'll share where I'll be working for my office there. So yeah, exciting stuff. I'm really looking forward to it.
That's really exciting and so great to, have a physical office back again after, the last few years and seeing people in person. I'm finding that too. Like, even though I have a home clinic, clients are like, can I actually just pop over and see you in person rather than on Zoom, which is so nice to have the person there with you. So,
Yeah, and that's really what drove me to look for an office space, because I was seeing clients in my home, and because more people were wanting to meet in person. And I was just like, I don't know if I want a bunch of people come into my house. I do live out in the country, and I'm like, not that I have like creepy clients or anything, but you just never know.
you want to
It's like,
separate your workplace from your home life sometimes too.
yeah.
So.
And also, not all my clients are fans of chickens running around the front yard,
Big
giant horse
dogs.
dogs, cats jumping up on my desk. Not everyone likes all the creatures.
That's right. Yeah, I'm lucky with my home office. It's just kind of like straight through the front door, straight into my office. So even if the rest of the house looks like a bomb hit it, the office still stays nice and
Yeah.
clean.
Well, mine's like that too, but I don't have doors. So you walk in my front door, here's my office, but my office doesn't have any doors. So
Yeah,
all the dogs and cats can still come bug us.
yeah. Well, that's great. So your sugar
Yeah.
fast program will be online, the component of that.
It is
And
going to be online. Yes.
yeah, but
Yeah.
your
So anyone
office
can
is
join.
in person.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Yes. Yes.
That's great. Um, News for me, I just wanted to just give a little shout out that the September enrollment for Nutritional Therapy Association is closing soon. So if you're thinking about studying and having jobs like Holly and I that we absolutely love, or you want to ask some questions or find out more, just let us know. We're happy to answer any questions about studying with the Nutritional Therapy Association. And why not just get in there and get it done? Because in 9 months' time, you can be looking at a whole new career, or even helping yourself with health issues or family members, which is why a lot of people do it as well. So a great time to jump in and give it a go. And you can find the link on our website. It's a little banner at the top, and it says you want my job or something like that. So click on it. It says Nutritional Therapy Association. They click on that. That'll take you through so you can sign up and start your new career.
Yeah, and like you said, like even if you're just interested in learning more about your health and how to keep yourself healthy or your family healthy, the education we've received at NTA is just like it's priceless. Like it's just so, I can't say enough good things. And I always say that I feel like I'm a broken record every time you bring up NTA, but I can't even count like how many ways it has changed my life for the better just with the education and background we get from that.
Yeah. And our website is still www.lowcarbconversations.com. We haven't changed that one over yet. So just head on over there. You'll get the show notes. You'll find Holly's details for her group program, for her new office location, and you'll find the link to sign up to become a nutritional therapy practitioner. Well, it's a co-host episode, so we are going to start recapping some of the previous episodes in case you missed them, some of the highlights. So the first one we're looking at is the importance of soil with resilient grower Rachel Summers. So Rachel lives in your local area, doesn't she, Holly?
She does. Yeah, she's one of the regenerative farmers here. Fortunately, we have a lot of regenerative farmers in the area here. That is something that is not new and trendy. That's actually something that's kind of been around for a long time. Where I live in the country, there still are a lot of farmers doing things the traditional way and with traditional methods, as well as attracting people who are just trying to combat the destructive farming practices that we've had for so many decades now. And so Rachel is one of those local farmers here, and she was just brilliant. She was very knowledgeable, had a lot of great stuff to share. And I really enjoyed the conversation with her. And I'd like to have more conversations like that with more farmers going forward as more and more people are interested in learning the source of their foods and how things are raised, whether it be animal products or plants. There really is so much more to the story that we're not being told. And I would love to share more of those perspectives on this show as we move forward too.
Yeah, definitely. They are doing such amazing things in the world in order to help the world be better for us and our children and children's children, etc. And these farmers really just need a platform. Like they're just doing so many amazing things. So if there's anything we can do to share out so that they can reach more people, so like we want to be part of that because they are really the ones at the ground up, you know, doing everything that to help out our soils, our food, our everything that we need. So yeah, so that was a really great conversation. Next up, we spoke with your friend Holly, Dr. Don Clum, about Alzheimer's. There was a article going around about how some allegedly fraudulent activity was done in some studies around I think it was around the medication for Alzheimer's, and some of the studies had been kind of like fudged, and there was a bit of controversy going around that. So we got Dr. Don in because he's an expert to discuss with us a bit more about Alzheimer's and you know, his the take on that that's different to conventional medicine.
Yeah, and since that is his wheelhouse and area of expertise, he always brings new nuggets of wisdom for us. And I know we've talked about on the show before how Alzheimer's has been referred to as type 3 diabetes, and just making those connections between blood sugar and neurological degeneration and blood sugars and how they relate. And he brought up something having to do with enzymes, and that was something I had never really heard of before. And I'm not even going to try to summarize it because I would butcher it, but it is a really good episode. There's some fresh information there and some good takeaways when it comes to blood sugar and metabolic inflammation and stress and Alzheimer's.
Excellent. Yeah. So go and check that one out with Dr. Don Clum. And then we had you, Holly, on your own, giving us a little chat about how regulated and safe are our food additives in the US. And it was all stemming from the Skittles ingredients that I don't know. I don't know why it's taken so long for people to realize that Skittles have these chemicals in them, because like you just have to look at them.
Right, right. And I cover that too. I say it's not like a surprise that candy has things in it that aren't good for us. It's like I don't think anyone is picking up Skittles thinking they're picking up a health food. I really don't. But I do think that people are picking up Skittles or any kind of so-called junk food or a cheat food or a candy or a special occasion food, thinking that it is safe. And so it is surprising to people to hear that there are ingredients and products on our shelves that are not safe. And so that episode, I just kind of pull the curtain back a little bit of how regulation works here in the US and how we're not as tightly regulated as some other countries when it comes to ingredients and the products that we use.
And I just wanted to say too, I checked the ingredient list of Skittles in Australia, and we don't have that chemical in our ones, but it's not to say that people probably don't import the American version of it, because we have stores here that like American Candy Store, which I will not go into.
You know what? It was a few years ago when my kids were little. We had foreign exchange students from Spain stay with us, and they were teenagers, and they were so excited to have the American cereal, like the junk cereal, like the Lucky Charms and the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and like our Doritos and Gatorade and like everything that has all the chemicals and additives. But they're like, but we don't have, it's not as good. Like, I would think that they would taste the same. It just doesn't have the same chemical ingredients, but they think, oh no. Or maybe it's all psychological too, thinking, oh, it's the American
Yeah.
version. It's really bad for you. It must taste great.
I'll tell you one thing. When I was younger, maybe 18 or 19, my brother and I, or maybe I was a bit older, maybe 20s, but my brother and I traveled and we went to LA. And the first thing we did when we got there was like, oh, we're going to go. And this was before my health journey. We're going to try corn chips and a Snapple. Is that what it's called? The drink.
Uh-huh, that tea.
I'd
Uh-huh.
seen ads for it. And we're like, this is going to be great. And when I picked up the corn chip, the layer of flavoring that was on it compared to what we get here in Australia was just like so, like I had the powdery, cheesy stuff or whatever it was all over my hands.
Yeah.
It was so salty, I couldn't even finish like the packet. Like it was just so much. And then I was like, I washed it down with the Snapple, and I was just like, what is this sugar? There is so much sugar
It's
in
just
this.
like syrup.
Yeah, I could not believe it. So there is definite difference between like your Doritos versus our Doritos, and the layering of the seasoning, I guess, or whatever it was on it was just like couldn't sit still after that. And even back then, that's when I was probably in the heyday of eating whatever I wanted to eat because I was young and backpacking. But I couldn't even handle that. So
Oh, wow. All
yeah,
right. Well, I think that says a lot. And
yeah,
it might also explain why Americans, when we travel to other countries, they say, oh, the food is so bland.
so bland. All right, and
And then
then
you had an episode right after me.
yes, that's right. So I did ways to reduce stress with meal planning and preparation. So just some tips and tricks that I've learned to try and reduce stress time around meals, with thinking about planning and preparation, but doing it your way that works for your family. So just like it's more some little exercises you can do in there to really think about the best way of approaching that for you and your family. So that's
And that is like perfect timing for us in the US as we all go back to school for the kids and fall sports are starting up again. And so our schedules go from being lazy all summer to being packed. And so meal planning is critical this time of year if you want to avoid just eating out all the time. So perfect timing.
I wonder how it to me, because we have our big break at the end of the year, because it's like the end of the year warming down. But I always wonder how do you guys get motivated in the middle of the year to just get in and get the rest of the year finished?
I don't know.
It must
I
be
have no
hard.
idea. You think you just do it.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's motivated. It's just survival. You have to
that's
do it or
right. Just have
die.
to do it. Yeah, at least you get summer off, and that's the best time to have time off, I reckon. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our previous episodes. Go back and check them out if you haven't already. Let us know if there's anything that you enjoyed. If there's any guests you want to see coming up on the show, reach out to us. We have our Instagram account. It's at Real Health Conversations. Hit us up, send us an email, contact us. We love to hear from you. So let us know what you're liking and not liking. we found an article this week which is so special, and Holly, I'm going to get you to introduce it.
Yeah, so well, I mean, we shouldn't be surprised that this article's
No.
from the Huffington Post, which is known for sensationalized headlines. Um, but it's also an online source that people refer to all the time. There's one of the most popular readerships. And so it's important to talk about articles that are in sites like this because they are getting a lot of eyes on them. And so the headline is, Can drinking French press coffee raise your cholesterol? And really, like, that's just kind of a sensationalized headline there. And I think it's designed to cause fear because people who drink French press coffee are very sophisticated and sexy. I drink French press coffee. But cholesterol is something everyone's concerned about. Nobody wants to have high cholesterol because we're told that leads to heart disease and all sorts of heart problems there. And so this is going to catch your eye if you are a French press coffee drinker. And really, it goes into a bunch of stuff about these different diterpenes and everything, but really the gist of the article is saying that the reason French press coffee could be a cholesterol issue is because coffee beans have naturally occurring oils in them. And when you brew coffee through traditional methods of brewing, through a filter, or even one of those really pretty, like, beaker looking things with the paper, and you pour it slowly, those look very sexy too. But it has a filter, and those filters collect those oils, and so it doesn't pass through the coffee. But when you're using a French press, there's not that filter. You just have the grounds, you pour the hot water, and you push it's a metal filter, more of like a sieve to just get the grounds out, but all those oils and everything are still retained within the brew. And that is why people who drink French press like it, because those oils are what adds to the complexity of flavor and depth and the different notes that you taste. And so honestly, this article is just really super nitpicky. I think, because it's not like you're getting a whole bunch of oils here, but it's saying that research is suggesting that unfiltered coffee can raise your LDL cholesterol, which we know as our bad cholesterol. And that is that waxy fat-like substance that can cause plaque and buildup in our arteries.
So much to unpack in this article, because even in the article itself, it says coffee itself isn't a source of dietary cholesterol. So, already they're saying that, it's the oil, like you have mentioned, in it. So, all right, okay, so maybe they're not demonizing coffee here, but we are going to sensationalize to everyone that it's just the French press, and maybe, like you were saying before, maybe it is more mature people that are drinking the French press.
Did you just call me old? You say mature, I'm hearing, oh, Holly's old.
And it is actually known that it is more protective to have higher cholesterol in older age. So naturally, as we're aging, we are going to see higher levels of cholesterol in people, and that's because cholesterol is more protective. But I'll talk a little bit more about that later, about to the reasons why. But in unpacking the article, again, sensationalizing. So it's like, coffee, French press drinkers, high cholesterol. And then you read more into it. Well, you need to be drinking 6 cups or more of coffee a day. And the study was actually done on a very small group of people. They don't say anything about the age of the people and what their previous dietary lifestyle is like. And they were drinking 9 cups of coffee. Now, already, if you're not getting my gist here already, there's some serious warning, flat red flags here. Who is drinking 9 cups of coffee a day? Like, and
Not
if you
me, I'd be
are,
like this.
yeah, that's right. And if you are, then I feel like you've got some serious problems health-wise happening anyway, and which could be inflammation in the body and high levels of cholesterol, because cholesterol is trying to protect our body, can be associated with that. So with inflammation. So the body's really just trying to work as expected by raising cholesterol to protect you, because cholesterol is a healing agent for the body. It's very demonized. So people immediately think, like you even said, good and bad cholesterol, but it's not really good and bad cholesterol. They do two different jobs. So I might explain a little bit. Because cholesterol is it's a very tough subject. Can be very complicated. There's a lot of information out there about it. There's a lot of misinformation out there about it. And I'm definitely not an expert. You can hear my little dog in the background. We just got a new dog, and he's just like, why aren't I recording with you, Mummy?
He hasn't learned yet that he has to be quiet when mommy's recording.
Yeah, that's right. He just wants to be in here with me. He's a very, very friendly little Maltese, if anyone's listening. And so he has that little cute little bark, but he just wants to be around you all the time. So cholesterol is important because it's a healing agent for the body. In stressful situations, it can increase and in stressful situations to the body, like inflammation. So it's happening because it's trying to protect the body. It's doing as expected. And it usually occurs in people who are leading a lifestyle of anything that can cause inflammation, which we talk about a lot, which is, high processed foods, stressful situations. Really interesting. Dr. Chris Kresser is my go-to on anything cholesterol. He has some great free ebooks on his page, articles on it. I might even link those up into the show notes for people. And Dr. Mark Hyman's another one who has some really great information as well. But I really, really like this paragraph from Dr. Chris Kresser's Diet Heart Myth ebook. And it says, on any given day, we have between 1,100 and 1,700 milligrams of cholesterol in our body. 25% of that comes from our diet, and 75% of that is produced inside our bodies, mainly by the liver, but cholesterol can be produced anywhere in the body. Much of the cholesterol that's found in food can't be absorbed by our bodies. So there's a big thing right there, where most people think that eating foods high in cholesterol raises cholesterol, but he's saying here only 25% of that comes from our diet, and much of that can't be absorbed by our bodies. And most of that cholesterol in our gut was first synthesized in body cells and ended up in the gut via the liver and gallbladder. The body tightly regulates the amount of cholesterol in the blood by controlling internal production. When cholesterol intake in the diet goes down, the body will naturally make more. And when cholesterol intake in the diet goes up, the body makes less. So our bodies are amazing and are doing what it can to regulate the cholesterol in our body. So I just think that's so fantastic that, that's what's happening there. We don't want to lower cholesterol because it can be dangerous to people. It can cause women, it can be dangerous for women especially. It has a lot to do with bone density. You can become prone to cancer. And low cholesterol can be associated with aggressive behavior, suicide, learning difficulties, poor memory and immunity, poor physical health, stroke, and infertility. So there's a lot there that cholesterol can be doing. Which makes it important. Holly, why don't you share with us one of your clients that you worked with around cholesterol, just to kind of as a practical example?
Yeah, well, and I think I'll tell the story first and then I'll come back. But when I was new, just out of NTA school, one of my first clients was an older gentleman in his 70s, and he came to me because his doctor had just told him that he needs to lower his cholesterol. He didn't physically look like an unhealthy man. Like, I was working in a gym, he was working out regularly. He was a little overweight, but physically did not look too unhealthy. And really all we did with him was focus on consuming whole foods in his diet. He had a history of consuming a lot of baked goods. In fact, his professional career, his whole life, was a delivery man for a bakery where you would deliver baked goods to different restaurants and coffee shops and stuff locally. And so he had just had a lifestyle of eating baked goods and pastry treats. So when he came to me, he was still indulging in those things because it's just what he had always done. And so all we did was remove those from the diet, and we just focused on consuming whole foods and real foods and cutting out those refined and processed carbohydrates and those refined and processed sugars. And he very quickly lost weight. The next time he went to his doctor, his cholesterol numbers were within the optimal range. His doctor was blown away because he was to the point where they were about to put him on medication, which is why he came to see me. And it's just to goes to show that um, it's not just consuming saturated fats. It's all those other things that, as Leah mentioned, cause the inflammation in the body. And I think we have just been so conditioned by being told that fat is the problem. And this even goes back to the 60s with the whole thing with the sugar industry funding research that took the blame off of fat, or put the blame on fat and took it off of sugar. But we just don't have the full picture. And I think we're just now starting to see that it's really not just saturated fat, it's not just animal products, it's these other things within our diet that aren't good for any of our body processes. And cholesterol just happens to be one of the things that our body uses to protect itself against these foods that aren't good for our bodies that we consume regularly.
Yeah, and that's such a great story to share. That yeah, exactly like you're saying. It's just like this how processed food sugar industry can be causing such a huge impact on our health. And now apparently French coffee, French press coffee. um, One thing I did want to mention too, just going back a little bit, now that I don't have the dog distracting me barking in the background, is the terms good and bad cholesterol. And we really shouldn't look at it as good and bad, because it is all doing a job in the body that we really need it to be doing. And cholesterol, like you were saying earlier, is like a waxy substance, and that wax that and it's a lipid, and it can't actually move. It's insoluble to water, so it can actually transport itself through the body. So it wraps itself in a lipoprotein to get moved. Well, it's being wrapped in a lipoprotein to move through the system, and that's where LDL and HDL come in, because these are lipoproteins which are kind of transporting the cholesterol around the body. And they can the lipoproteins can range in different sizes, and there's more than just LDL and HDL, but they have been definitely demonized over the years. And so HDL actually transports the fats or lipids from the body to the liver, and LDL transports from the liver to the body. So they're both playing a role here in transporting around. And I think what sometimes can be problematic is that, because not all of these lipoproteins uh, you know are the same, and not all LDL, which is often demonized as the bad one, are the same. So we really want so when studies have been done into cholesterol, people have been saying that the smaller ones are often more associated with heart disease. So in their cleanup job, that's what's kind of like happening there. And so that you really want to take a look and see like a little bit. So if you have high LDL, there's another test that can be done to have a look to see whether it is smaller particle size, or if it's large and fluffy, which is what you want, which is said to be not associated with heart disease. I think that there's some research for and against that coming out as well. And I feel like cholesterol is one of those things that we just really, don't have a really good solid bank of information from. And it's something that, like, even all this information is like at least 15 to 20 years old, where they've done studies into it, and doctors still haven't been interested in changing their mind around it. They still can see that it's saying that it's fat that's causing all of this. I think that if anyone's worried, though, one of the best kind of tests to have done is a calcium artery score test, where basically you can go in and see, it kind of like highlights all the arteries in the body and see where there is actually blockages and anything forming, rather than like rather than being worried if they have high HDL, high LDL. See, it's even confusing talking about it. So anyway, a calcium score test is usually the best one to go and have done. And I think that you can just get that done. I think probably in America, it's like a private test. In Australia, it's a private test, but it's not a very expensive one that you can just go and have done. And then that can just show you where there's any potential cause for heart disease happening in the body. And the other thing too is, going back to that whole kind of doctor not wanting to change their mind on that. There is a huge connection, we know, with statins and the overprescription of those. And statins do their job, right? They do lower cholesterol. But is it really that we want low cholesterol? Is that really the problem? And like in your example, Holly, you've saved someone from going on statins by just taking out the sugary processed foods, and he didn't need to go on medication for that. Now that medication, like I said, it's doing what it's meant to be doing, but is it doing the right thing in the body? But it's also depleting the body of essential nutrients like coenzyme Q10, which is needed for say like heart health, good heart health, coenzyme Q10. So it is really just something that people should be cautious with. Well, I'm not saying for people to go off their medications, but I'm saying maybe do a bit more research into this. And there is so much stuff out there to do your research with.
Right. And it just goes back also to always be asking the question why, because the body has a reason for doing things. If you have high cholesterol, it's important to ask why and take a look at your lifestyle, what's going on in your life, in your diet, your stress. Also, just be aware of the link between cholesterol as with insulin resistance and how those two go hand in hand. And if you have high cholesterol, you should probably look at what your insulin and glucose numbers are too, and get the full picture and ask those deeper questions as to why, rather than just think, oh, it's just because it runs in my family, or oh, it's just because I'm getting old, or oh, that's just what happens as you age, because maybe, but maybe not. And like my example, it really was a simple solution with changing up dietary practices and lifestyle habits. And like Leah said, that might not always be the case for everyone. I mean, every person is different. We all have our own unique reasons for the way our bodies behave. But if we're at the very least, we should be asking that question, why? And we should be looking at those foundational principles of health, which revolve around eating a whole foods, minimally processed diet, getting your exercise, getting fresh air, minimizing stress, prioritizing sleep. Before going down that route of medication, and again, I'm not a doctor, this is not medical advice, but as your friend talking to you through a podcast, those are things that you need to look at before thinking that you're doomed to a life of medication. Because once you start statins, you don't stop statins. Usually, like that's just the progression you're on forever, unless you really work with someone to change the lifestyle or dietary factors that are contributing to cholesterol. So
Yeah.
ask questions, look at the foundations.
Yeah, that's
before
right.
moving forward.
Exactly. And yeah, it all comes back to eating a nutrient dense whole foods diet, as you can see. And yeah, and just if you need to work with somebody, seeking out a professional, like I said, I'm not an expert in cholesterol, and it's a very difficult subject to know all the intricate details in and out of it. And there is so much information out there, but we would just direct you to Dr. Chris Kresser, Dr. Mark Hyman, and we'll link those up into the show notes so you can get a bit more inquisitive about it. And if you are already on a statin and you're have any concerns, maybe talking to a professional about adding some coenzyme Q10 and looking at the diet to help you there as well. And that can all go towards helping you if you're deciding to stay on the medication rather than just taking it and not not having anything else with it. So you can always, even if you're, like, we're not saying, like Holly said, to stop taking medication, but there's always things you can do to help support you and your body and your health as well.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's a big topic for today. And Teddy's joined me. I don't know if he wants to make Teddy, you want to make your appearance?
I want to see Teddy.
Oh, I thought he might come and
Oh,
make an
now he's
appearance.
camera shy.
Yeah, now he's camera shy.
He wants to be heard, not seen.
Maybe I'll bring him in another time and Teddy can make his podcast appearance, although he did barking earlier. All right. Well, thanks, Holly. And nothing else to add there?
No, we're good. So just
right.
make sure, I know we referenced a lot of things in this episode, so check the show notes for those links and for more information.
Yeah, and you can still go and enjoy your French press, coffee. Just one though.
Or your cold press too. Cold press, French press.
Just have one though. Don't drink 9 cups today.
No, please.
Well, that's the end of today's episode. Our theme music is created by Andrew Bowden and production services are by Kevin Kennedy Spain of Disc of Light Media. Have a great week, everyone.
Have a great week.